studied for a chemistry degree at Bath University.
I studied aerospace engineering at the Delft University of Technology.
I studied French and Management at Leeds University.
I was an undergraduate at Harvard in the US and I studied history.
I studied music at conservatory, so I went to Juilliard in New York. Then I studied English at university at Columbia in New York. And then I went on and got a law degree at Harvard Law School.
I worked for an oil and gas company as a chemist for my third year of university. So I actually decided quite late on that I wanted to go into finance compared to some people who'd been doing spring weeks since their first year.
During my bachelor, I quit studying for 1 year. I got a 12-month grant from my university to start a board function of a student fraternity. It got me into finance in terms of accounting and managing money.
After my placement year, I realised that being a chemist wasn't for me, so I just researched a load of different jobs online, and after reading about investment banking or equity research, which is the department that I work in, I realised that I was quite well suited to that. I was told this before I joined the company, that Morgan Stanley values diversity more than a lot of the other banks. And now I'm here, I realise it is actually true.
One of the reasons it's important for Morgan Stanley to have new analysts who have different backgrounds in terms of education is really for the creativity that can bring to the client advisory process.
A group of people who don't all come from the same academic discipline or educational background are likelier to come up with good ideas that have been tested rather than jump to the same conclusion because they're all coming at it from the same assumptions.
You know, obviously it can be very nice and efficient if you have a group of 10 people around a table, all with the same background, coming out with exactly the same answer. But if you actually can add to that people with different skill sets or come from from a different perspective, that can lead to much more creative solutions for a client and many more solutions that we can put in front of a client. And I think that helps us serve our clients better. It also contributes to the dynamic working environment that I think we really have here at Morgan Stanley.
Having a language is a really useful thing in a company as international as this one. So although my role doesn't directly involve French, I've found multiple opportunities to use it over my year here so far. And I think it really stands you apart when something comes in and you're suddenly the only one who can pick it up.
As an historian, and this is something that history has in common with a lot of other social sciences, one of the things that you're taught is to be skeptical about your sources. So to approach any kind of a research project or reading about a new subject, keeping in mind the biases of the authors that you're reading, keeping in mind the biases of your primary sources, and trying to figure out what's really going on. That's completely relevant to looking at corporate credit as I do, where companies are trying to tell a story and you have to figure out whether they're being honest with you and with themselves about what they're trying to accomplish.
Sometimes the technical skills that you've learned and the exact kind of science nature of your degree can help you analyse. For example, one of my friends did a medicine degree and is now covering the pharmaceutical sector, and they follow drug trials, and I think his background in medicine does help him be able to understand that whole process.
Trying to talk to clients, write messages for clients to understand, draft disclosure for investors to understand. You know, all of that comes from the skills you learn studying something like English literature. It's not necessary to study math or finance in order to bring us an important skill set to the table in investment banking. Any place you go to work will train you. And you need to understand, everyone receives the same training, and a lot of people who you might think have the perfect educational background actually don't have a practical background in what they need to do when they come to the workplace.
You're not going to be expected to know the technical questions or what affects an option price if you've never studied this and you're only in your second year of university.
They're not expecting you to go in on day one and be able to do the job. So I just kind of showed that you are passionate.
If you have concerns about your lack of knowledge in finance or your difficulty with numbers, I would say try and take an extra course in that area. And one of the easiest things you can do is keep up with current events, read the business press, and read as much of it as you can and get familiar with the terminology to the extent that you can.
By being familiar with the big issues of the day, and ideally not just the one or two issues that happen to be hot that week, but things that are maybe inside the newspaper or bigger themes. If you can speak about those and do it with real understanding and enthusiasm, then you're going to stand out from the crowd.
If you really are interested in finance, don't be afraid to look into it. Don't be shy about asking about it. You know, we need people like you to contribute to our, the top class advice that we give clients. And I think, people without the standard background, in quotes, it is absolutely possible for them to get employment and jobs in the finance industry and at Morgan Stanley.